I stand at the floor-to-ceiling window of my attorney's office, 41 floors above the city, hands clasped behind my back, jaw tight. I don't turn around when the door opens. She signed it, Renee. I close my eyes. One breath. Two. Then I turn slowly to face my attorney, Simone, and the words leave my mouth like ice. My daughter signed an affidavit against me. Simone nods once, her face carefully neutral, and something in my chest cracks open so quietly that no one in the room hears it at all. I need you to understand something before I tell you the rest of this story. I need you to understand what Imani meant to me. Not in the way people say their children mean everything, that easy, reflexive love that costs nothing to declare. I mean the kind of love that is bone deep, the kind that kept me breathing through 40 years of a marriage that was slowly, methodically suffocating me. My name is Renee Ashford Cole. I am 68 years old. I was a surgical nurse for 11 years before my husband, Dr. Vincent Cole, convinced me that my career was beneath the life he was building for us. I believed him. That is the first thing you need to know about me. I believed people who loved me. I trusted completely. And I paid for that trust in decades. Our home was a 5-bedroom colonial in Fairhaven Heights, a predominantly white, affluent suburb where I learned very early that I would always be the wrong kind of woman in the right kind of house. Vincent was a respected orthopedic surgeon. I was his wife, not his partner, not his equal, his accessory, his housekeeper in pearls. I managed the home, raised our children, attended every hospital gala with a smile ironed onto my face, and slowly, so slowly, I almost didn't notice, I disappeared. But Imani, my daughter, my firstborn, she was the one thing in that house that was purely, irrevocably mine. From the time she was small, we talked about everything. She would sit on the kitchen counter while I cooked and tell me things she told no one else, her fears, her dreams, the boy in her chemistry class who made her nervous. When Vincent's coldness filled the rooms of that house like a winter nobody named, Imani was the warmth I moved toward. She was my reason, my anchor, my proof that none of it had been wasted. She was 34 when she married Damon Whitfield. I want to be honest with you right now, because I promised myself this story would be honest. I didn't trust Damon from the beginning. Not in a dramatic way, not with evidence, just that quiet alarm that rings somewhere below the stomach when something isn't right. Damon was charming, polished, the kind of man who remembers your drink order and asks about your mother and makes you feel seen until the moment he no longer needs to. He was a financial consultant with an impressive LinkedIn profile, a lease on a downtown loft, and eyes that calculated everything they landed on, including me. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known standing at that wedding in my ivory Vera Wang suit, watching my daughter say I do, was that Damon had already begun asking questions about the house, about the marriage, about what I owned and what I didn't. What I was about to find would change everything I thought I knew about the man my daughter had chosen and about the daughter I thought I had raised. The moment everything shifted was a Tuesday, ordinary in every way. I am at my home office, the small second bedroom I have quietly converted into a workspace over the past 3 years, ever since I began mentoring with my old friend Celestine Ward, a retired accountant, who had been slowly, patiently teaching me things Vincent never wanted me to know: bookkeeping, asset structures, LLC filings. I had been learning in secret, building something small but real, a financial foothold I could stand on if the ground ever gave way beneath me. My phone rings. It's Imani. I pick up immediately, smiling without thinking. That's what her name on my screen always does to me. "Hey, baby, what's—" Her voice is clipped, careful, like she has rehearsed this. "Mom, Damon says we need to talk about the house, about about the finances. He thinks there are things that need to be looked at, legally. I go very still. The pencil in my hand stops moving. Imani, what are you saying? A pause. Too long. Then, he just wants to make sure everything is above board, Mom. With you and Dad separating and everything, he thinks you might have assets that were supposed to be disclosed. He's trying to help. I set the phone down on the desk. I don't hang up. I just set it down and stare at the wall for a long moment, because I know, in the way you know things that your mind hasn't caught up to yet, that this phone call is not about help. This phone call is the beginning of something I am not prepared for. Not yet. But here is what Damon Whitfield doesn't know. Here is what even my daughter doesn't know. I have been preparing for a very long time. If this story already has your heart beating faster, you are not alone. Subscribe and stay with me, because what happens next is something I could never have imagined surviving. And yet, here I am. I give myself exactly 1 hour after that phone call to feel it. I sit in my office chair and I let the hurt move through me like weather. I don't fight it. I don't perform strength. I just sit with the fact that my daughter, my Imani, has just handed her husband a key to a door he has no right to open. 1 hour. Then I pick up my phone and call Simone. Simone O'Coffer has been my attorney for 2 years. I found her through Celestine, quiet and deliberate the way all my important decisions have been since I started rebuilding myself from the inside out. Simone is sharp, unhurried, and completely unbothered by powerful men, which is exactly what I need. I tell her everything. The phone call, Damon's question about my assets, the LLC I have built quietly over 3 years, the small bookkeeping business registered under my maiden name, Ashford, the property I purchased 18 months ago in Lakeview Heights through a perfectly legal holding structure Celestine helped me establish. Simone listens without interrupting. When I finish, there is a beat of silence. Renee, did Vincent know about any of this? No. Did Imani? I pause, and that pause says everything. She knew I was taking classes. She didn't ask what kind. Another silence. Then Simone's voice, measured and precise. Then here is what we do. That is tension peak 1. The moment I realize that the person coming for me has been given ammunition by someone who loves me, or someone who used to. The divorce proceedings with Vincent are already messy. 40 years of financial entanglement do not unravel cleanly, and Vincent's attorney, a silver-haired man named Gerald Pruitt who has been protecting wealthy husbands since before Imani was born, has been aggressive from the start. But I am not afraid of Gerald Pruitt. I have spent 3 years quietly pulling threads, documenting statements, photographing statements, building a picture of what Vincent has hidden so carefully for so long. Celestine taught me how to read a balance sheet the way a surgeon reads an X-ray, slowly, looking for the fracture beneath the surface, and Vincent's finances are full of fractures. Then, 11 days after Imani's phone call, Damon files a formal complaint with the court. I am sitting in Simone's office when she slides the document across the desk to me. I read it once, then again. Damon is alleging that I have concealed marital assets, that the LLC, the Lakeview Heights property, the bookkeeping income, all of it was built using funds that belong equally to Vincent. He is requesting a full forensic audit. He has attached a 14-page financial summary. I look up from the document. My voice is very quiet, dangerously quiet. Where did he get these figures, Simone? She holds my gaze. The property valuation, the LLC registration date, the business revenue estimate. Renee, someone gave you your numbers. Someone who had access. I don't say Imani's name out loud. I can't, not yet. But my hands are flat on the desk, and I am pressing down very hard, because if I don't press down on something solid, I think I might come apart at the seams right there in that office. That is tension peak too, and I need you to feel what I feel in this moment. Not just the betrayal, but the specific surgical precision of it. This isn't a stranger attacking me. This is my child, who sat on my kitchen counter and told me her secrets, who called me crying at midnight when her first relationship ended, who danced with me in the living room to Anita Baker the morning she got into university. That girl has handed a calculating man the exact coordinates of everything I built in secret to survive. Whether she understood what she was doing or not, the damage is identical. I go home that night and I sit in the dark of my Lakeview Heights living room, the house I bought with my own money, my own name, my own courage, and I let myself grieve. Not perform grief, actually grieve. The way you grieve something that is technically alive but has changed into a shape you no longer recognize. I grieve the version of Imani who would have never done this. I grieve the assumption I carried for 34 years that my daughter and I were made of the same thing. Then I stop, I make tea, I open my laptop. 2 weeks later, Simone uncovers something that reframes the entire picture. Damon Whitfield is not just a financial consultant. 3 years before marrying Imani, he was investigated, though never charged, for financial coercion in a previous relationship. A woman named Petra Holloway had accused him of manipulating her into signing over a share of an inherited property. The case was dropped when Petra recanted, but the pattern is documented, and Simone's investigator, a quiet woman named Rochelle Banks, has found 2 other women with similar stories, women who met Damon, married him, or came close, and found themselves signing things they didn't fully understand. I sit across from Simone, and I feel my blood temperature drop by several degrees. He targeted Imani. Simone nods slowly. We believe so, and we think he always knew about you, Renee. We think you were the asset he was always after. I close my eyes, and the grief I felt for my daughter shifts, not disappears, but shifts into something more complicated, more painful, and more forgiving at the same time. Because if Damon targeted Imani to get to me, then my daughter isn't just a betrayer, she is also a victim, and she doesn't even know it yet. I think about calling her. I pick up my phone twice that night. Both times I put it back down, because telling Imani the truth about her husband is going to destroy her world, and I have to be ready for the possibility that even then, even with the evidence in her hands, she might still choose him. I thought the worst was behind me. Then my phone buzzes. I look at the screen. It's a message from an unknown number. 4 words and a screenshot that makes my entire body go cold. She knows about Rochelle. The screenshot is a text exchange between Damon and someone saved in his phone as GP, Gerald Pruitt, Vincent's attorney. I stare at the screen for so long my eyes begin to blur. The messages are brief but devastatingly clear. Damon has been coordinating with Gerald since before the forensic audit request was filed. They are not just aligned, they are orchestrated. Vincent's legal team and my son-in-law have been working together, sharing information, building a case designed to strip me of every asset I have, quietly, legally, painstakingly built over 8 years of silent preparation. And somewhere in those messages is Imani's name. Not as a co-conspirator, as a source, an unwitting one, I tell myself. I have to tell myself that or I cannot breathe. I forward the screenshot to Simone at 11:47 p.m. She calls me back in 4 minutes. Her voice is controlled, but I can hear the current running underneath it. Renee, this changes everything. If we can authenticate this exchange, if Gerald Pruitt has been feeding case strategy to a third party who is also a petitioner in your divorce proceedings, we are not just looking at a dismissed audit, we are looking at attorney misconduct, potentially criminal coordination. I stand at my kitchen window looking out at the city lights, and I feel something I haven't felt in a very long time. Power. Not the loud, brittle kind, the deep, settled kind, the kind that comes from having done the work when no one was watching. Then let's authenticate it, I say, every single line. The next 6 weeks are the most exhausting of my life. Simone files a motion to dismiss the forensic audit on the grounds of procedurally improper coordination. Rochelle Banks works around the clock, pulling financial records, phone logs, email threads. What emerges is a picture so methodical it takes my breath away. Damon Whitfield has been surveilling my financial activity for nearly 2 years. He accessed information Imani innocently shared, details about Celestine, about my classes, about the Lakeview property she visited once and admired without knowing what it represented. He took those innocent details and built a legal weapon out of them, and Gerald Pruitt helped him aim it. The morning of the hearing, I dress carefully. A deep burgundy blazer, my mother's pearl earrings, flat shoes because I want to feel the ground beneath me. I ride the elevator to the 41st floor, and I walk into that courtroom carrying 40 years of silence and 8 years of preparation, and I sit down and I do not shake. Judge Adaze Nozu is 62 years old, precise and famously unsentimental. She reads the motion documentation for 11 minutes without looking up. The courtroom is so quiet I can hear the ventilation hum. Gerald Pruitt shifts in his seat twice. Damon, sitting in the gallery, does not move at all, but I feel his stillness as a kind of dread, the stillness of a man who is beginning to understand that the plan has unraveled. Judge Nuosu finally looks up. Her eyes move to Gerald Pruitt with the calm, deliberate precision of a scalpel. Counselor, would you like to explain the nature of your communication with Mr. Whitfield between March and September of this year? The silence that follows is the most satisfying sound I have ever heard in my life. Gerald Pruitt's license is referred to the State Bar for investigation that same afternoon. The forensic audit is dismissed with prejudice. The court orders a full disclosure of Vincent's financial records, the real ones, and what Simone's team finds in the next 3 weeks confirms everything I documented over 8 years of quiet, invisible watching. $17.4 million in concealed marital assets, shell companies, offshore transfers, a vacation property in Colorado registered to his mother, a forged post-nuptial agreement I allegedly signed in 2019, when I can prove with receipts and flight records that I was in Atlanta that entire weekend visiting my sister. Vincent Cole is arrested on a Thursday morning, 47 counts. Medicare fraud, asset concealment, forgery. His medical license is suspended pending trial. Damon's petition is thrown out entirely. His coordinated misconduct disqualifies every filing he submitted. Rochelle's investigation leads to a separate civil suit from Petra Holloway, who this time does not recant. I walk out of that courthouse into October sunlight, and I stand on the steps for a moment, and I breathe. Just breathe. And I think about the woman who walked into Memorial Hospital in 1982 with a nursing qualification, a sharp mind, and a whole future ahead of her. And I think, I found her again. It took 40 years, but I found her. The weeks after the verdict are quieter than I expect. Not empty, actually, full in ways I am still learning to receive. Celestine brings food, Simone calls to check in, Rochelle sends a card. I begin the paperwork for the Ashford Foundation, a resource center for women navigating financial abuse and marital asset fraud. I name it after my maiden name on purpose, the name I had before I became someone's wife. I sleep well for the first time in years. That sounds small. It is enormous. I redecorate my Lakeview Heights living room. I buy plants, something I was never allowed to do because Vincent found them untidy. I buy 6. I line them along the windowsill and water them every morning, and it is one of the most quietly radical things I have ever done. I do not call Imani. I made a decision somewhere in those brutal weeks of preparation that I would not chase my daughter. If she wanted to find her way back to me, the path would be there, but I would not maintain it for her. Not this time. I have spent a lifetime maintaining paths for people who walked them without looking down. I am done with that particular labor. She calls on a Sunday, 3 months after the verdict. My phone screen lights up with her name, and I sit with it for 5 full rings before I answer. Mom? Her voice is wrecked, torn open the way voices get when someone has been crying for days without relief. And I feel it, of course I feel it. She is still my daughter, she will always be my daughter, but I don't rush to fill the silence with comfort yet. She has to say it herself. A long pause, then, "I didn't know what he was doing. I swear to you, Mom, I didn't know. But I should have. I should have asked more questions instead of just, I handed him everything you told me, and I didn't even think." Her voice breaks. "I know, baby," I say, finally, "and I mean it. I know you didn't know. Can I come over?" I look around my living room, at my plants on the windowsill, at the Ashford Foundation letterhead on my desk, at the life I built out of the rubble of everything that tried to break me. "Yes, come over," I say. We have a long road ahead of us, Imani and me. Trust, once fractured, does not mend in an afternoon over tea, but it can mend. That much I know. I have rebuilt harder things than this. What I want you to carry with you from my story is that the people who underestimate you are counting on you to stay small. They are counting on you to be too afraid, too dependent, too exhausted to fight back. Every single day that I sat in that suffocating marriage and quietly learned something new, I was proving them wrong. Not loudly, not for anyone to see, just for me. That was enough. It was always enough. What part of this story hit you the hardest? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. There is something I have learned that I want to leave with you. When you have been invisible for a long time, you start to believe that's all you are, a background figure, a supporting role in someone else's story. But invisibility is not weakness, it's camouflage. And while they were busy looking past me, I was watching everything. I was learning everything. I was building everything. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. The woman you used to be is still inside you. She never left. She was just waiting for you to be ready to come back to her. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from.